What is happening, my good people? Greetings. How are you? How's it going? How's everybody doing out there? What is the latest and greatest? Hope everybody's doing well, feeling fantastic and excellent spirits here on a Wednesday. As you see there on the graphic, July the 30th, the next to last day of the month. And with August literally right around the corner, the summer is zooming by. So wherever you may be, please enjoy the moment. Enjoy the summer. I know it's hot here in the Northeast, third straight day of 95-degree heat index at 100. It is right up my alley. It is what I love. This is, to me, the most wonderful time of the year, not during the Thanksgiving or Christmas holiday where you're hearing Mariah Carey 1,000 times or Hank Williams, the most wonderful time of the year. Nuh-uh. Right here, right now. But, of course, that's just my personal preference, as you know. But for this live stream, one that I've been looking forward to since we concluded last week, because I got a lot here to discuss, a lot on the docket, a lot that's even outside of sports, believe it or not, more tailored to what it is that I want to do for the month of August, because as we all know, time waits for no one. Time has no friends. You have to seize however many moments you possibly can throughout the course of a day, week, month, etc., because if not, it'll go by you as if you're standing still. So let me begin with some housekeeping. First and foremost, to the regulars who come on in. Obviously, they post all the time. But for any first-timers, please share your comments in the chat room. I'll post it up here on the live stream. We'll go back and forth because that's what we do here every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern time to discuss whatever's on your mind. Doesn't matter. I could be talking baseball. And even if I'm in the middle of that monologue, you want to ask NFL, you want to ask NBA, NHL, my running schedule, why did I cut my hair, things of that nature, feel free to do so. Because this is a safe space, an open forum for anyone and everyone to share whatever it is that's on your mind, so please do so. And for those who are watching the replay, even though you're not here live with us, but please leave a comment anyway. I'll be more than happy to follow up. In fact, I've had a couple of comments prior to the start from my guy Val B out in the Bay Area, as well as Brent, who's north of the border, posting before the actual start of the live stream. So I was able to follow up with them. So you could even follow up afterwards. So leave a comment. I'll be more than happy to respond and see what is on your mind at that time. All right, let's jump right to it. Baseball, we know, is front and center. A lot of the other sports are pretty much dormant, even with the NFL. And I do have an NFL, I don't want to say it's a comment, but something I want to discuss there and what happened in light of Monday's horrific, and I don't even know if I should start there. I wanted to do that after the baseball, but the horrific events there in Midtown Manhattan. Actually, that plaza, I'm sure you've probably seen the photo of the gunman who, of course, also turned the gun on himself after going to the NFL headquarters. And yeah, not to detail every little significant nugget there, but I wanted to touch on that more from an NFL PR perspective than the actual incident, although I will share my thoughts on that a little bit later, but I do want to discuss about that. But starting off, the MLB Trade Deadline is tomorrow at 6 p.m., but let's face it, it is more like the deadline, because that is what has transpired here up until this very minute. And even with the Yankees making a move today, trading for Austin Slater, an outfielder, with Aaron Judge on the IL with that issue that he has regarding his elbow. And that is a move that is not going to excite anyone or certainly move the needle or have everybody just out of their gourd wanting to discuss about the Yankees making their count 'em. This is their third deal that they've made since last Friday, bringing in Ryan McMahon, as you know, from the Rockies. Also, Ahmed Rosario from the Nationals, two infielders. McMahon to play third. Rosario, by trade, a shortstop, but I'm sure maybe they could plug him in second. And with Anthony Volpe, two more errors yesterday and just being abysmal out in the field. Who knows if that's going to be insurance down the road? That we'll have to wait and see. But for the Yankees trading with the White Sox for an outfielder is certainly not going to have anybody running to their phones and posting or reposting on their social media feeds about what the Yankees did today. And that's pretty much been indicative of this trade deadline. I see a couple of comments, which I'll get to in a moment. But for a lot of these teams that are still in the mix, whether teams that have already looked like they're going to be entrenched in qualifying for the postseason, despite the fact that we have now less than 2 months until the conclusion of the baseball season. So even if that means you're the Yankees or the Mets or the Phillies or the Dodgers or the Tigers or the Blue Jays, those teams we think will be shoo-ins for the postseason. And for teams that are on the outside looking in, whether that be the Cardinals right now or even Val's Giants, who have really hit a tailspin, or the Reds, the Anaheim Angels, the Cleveland Guardians, teams like that, will they make a move here over the next more than 24 hours because the trade deadline is at 6 p.m. tomorrow. And based on what we've seen so far, I'm sure there'll be a flurry before it's all said and done, and maybe you'll have a few more trades trickle in this afternoon into the evening. I would think tomorrow you're going to have a lot of minor trades. This isn't the time for a blockbuster to take place. We saw that last month with Rafael Devers, and that was more of a situation where the Red Sox had to get rid of Devers as opposed to just trading him for trade's sake. And even though we've seen some deadline blockbusters, whether that was Justin Verlander back in 2017 from Detroit to Houston, or even Manny Machado, remember when he was traded from the Orioles to the Dodgers right before the deadline? Those trades are few and far between. I would expect the lesser deals, whether it's relievers, whether it's utility men, or maybe a contract that it's about to expire this year for a guy that could provide a big boost in a lineup or even a rotation for that matter, that being either Eugenio Suarez, who got hit in the hand with a pitch the other day, although the x-rays were negative, but who knows if he gets moved. Same for his teammate Merrill Kelly, even Zach Gallen. And with the Diamondbacks fading in the NL West for sure, but maybe even in the wild card picture overall, chances are those guys could get moved. But what would be the cost? That remains to be seen, because these guys are rentals. So you're not going to give up the farm and maybe a current major league player on your roster in order to get a guy that you're going to have for less than 2 months and is going to go out on the free agent market. So I think that this is going to be, it's going to be active tomorrow, I would think, but nothing along the likes of anything that we had imagined, thinking with all these teams that are still in the mix, with players that we would have thought maybe as early as a week ago were going to be bound for a new address. And right now, there isn't any indication that that's going to happen. Even though the rumor mill may still be churning, although there may be a name out there that we may not even know of at this very moment that could be a bombshell come tomorrow. But a lot of the baseball writers that I follow, I got nothing. And they're not going to try to manufacture a trade just for story's sake or for clickbait. I mean, these are guys that have credibility behind them, and there's no way that they're just going to come out with, oh, I'm hearing such and such on this team could get traded by tomorrow. And that's all of a could, would, maybe even should for that matter. But they're not going to go based on that. They're going to go based on what they are hearing from the GMs, from the higher-ups in these major league offices, to where a player or players, the likelihood of them being moved somewhere to another address could possibly happen. Or the likelihood of that happening is pretty strong. Not based on, oh, well, I think this guy's going to go here. Or, oh, you know what? They're talking about this player going there. All right, talking, thinking, we want to hear something that's a little bit more substantial. And pretty much we have not gotten that. Even going back to last week when I was on the live, where it was 8 days away from the trade deadline, and those trades that I detailed by the Yankees, and yes, the Mets made a deal for Gregory Soto, the left-hander from Baltimore, and that has been it. You haven't got much. Josh Naylor, I understand, yes, last Friday, shipped to Seattle as they try to fortify their lineup. But besides that, you have got absolute squat. And who knows if that's going to change here in the next 24 hours. And I think it will. To what degree, who knows? And I could see, again, a lot of those relievers, and you know the names, the guys, from Pittsburgh, the Mitch Kellers of the world, and the David Bednars and guys like that. And I could come up with a few more names, but I got news for you. I'm actually very surprised by the way this trade deadline, or as I'm going to call it as of right now, deadline, has been. I expected a lot more activity. Not to say that it had to be a trade per hour or a bunch of trades or flurry of trades from Monday to today, but we have gotten nary a sprinkling, nary a raindrop of trades regarding people that we thought were going to be moved, at least by now, and who knows if they're going to be moved by tomorrow. So all we can say is keep your seatbelts on, fasten them, maybe not as tight as we thought, but unless there's going to be just a clamoring of these teams that are going to go out there and try to bring in these players, whether they're on a rental 2 months or even beyond, I don't know. You would think there's going to be a shakeup at some point, but as of right this very moment, I haven't seen it. But I'm expecting it. Maybe not of a big-time magnitude, and who knows, maybe you get that last just stream of trades up until that 6 p.m. deadline where it's after 6, and you still have a couple of trades that, although the deadline is come and gone, but right up until the last second have been a scenario where these players were able to make it right under the deadline. Another player, I think, is Yoenis Cespedes, where the Mets got him in 2015, 10 years ago, to think. And he had one of the great second half, or really 2-month runs that any player has ever seen or any team has ever seen. But we shall see. And let me get to the comments right here before I move on to a couple other things with baseball. Let's see. Val, yeah, I know Val you got there. Let me see. All right, now this is prior to the start is Brent. All right, I want to make sure I got it while we're on. All right, Val, what you got? Giants lost 5 games. I'm not sure what happened to them. No, they're not. Well, they're out of a wild card spot as far as the top 6. Now, they're currently what? I think they want to say they're 4 back right now. Let me pull up the wild card standings. Giants. They are currently 5 back at 500. And it's a shame because losing 5 in a row the way they have, whether that was to the Mets over the weekend, as you know, and then here, for whatever the reason, the Pirates are on a roll. The Pirates seem to be playing their best right at this very moment. And for whatever the reason, the Giants cannot get out of their own way. And you would think the Giants who have an afternoon game today, was it 3:45? Now, talk about a team that needs a win in the worst way, and I'll answer your question in a second, Val. They got to snap this streak, number 1. Number 2, they'll have a day off tomorrow, but they're going to fly out of the Bay Area, and guess where they go next? Maybe they'll get some revenge, hopefully not for my sake. They're going to play the Mets at Citi Field over the weekend. And the Mets right now with a 2-game losing streak, and thanks to Emil Jimenez and his terrible strike zone there on Monday, and I'll get to that in a minute. But for the Giants, they do not want to leave Oracle with a 6-game losing streak all in their building to have to come east to play the Mets over the weekend, who just beat them 3 of those games over this past weekend. And yes, that certainly would not look good. So they need a win desperately. Now, as far as what you're saying, Val, even with them being 5 games out, yeah, they haven't been able to hit. In that Mets series, they scored very few runs. I haven't really followed this series with the Pirates, but obviously the Pirates have certainly have done a number on them. And yet, either they haven't been able to score. Let me just take a quick look, Giants. Because we know that weekend against the Mets, those games could have gone either way. Now, they lost 6-5 on Monday, 3-1. I mean, I'm sure those games could have gone either way. Against the Pirates, we know about the games over the weekend where the Mets, they played close games against the Giants. I understand the game on Friday night was 8-1, but 2-1 was a close game that could have went either way. And then obviously on Sunday, where the Mets were able to pull out the game there in the ESPN Sunday night game. All I got to say is this. I think the Giants, they still may be heard from, but they need to win today because the last thing they want to do is come back east on the heels of a 6-game losing streak. And on top of all that, part of that 6-game losing streak was at the hand of the Mets. So I think they're still in it. I mean, 5 back at 500, if they fall any deeper, it's not going to be good. So, yeah, Val, yeah, exactly. Now, what is this? I love this. Do you think the Giants ever win again? Listen, the Giants obviously are going to win, Val, but yeah, they're going to have to do it quick, fast, in a hurry as of right this very second, because if not, they can fall out of this race rather quickly. My guy, the baseball purist, is the sign that the Mets are going to win the East. Lockouts, win the East. Yeah. Well, right now they're a half game back, thanks to the 2 losses here, and they play the White Sox this afternoon, the Phillies. Now, that Harper fight is telling Not necessarily with Manfred, but, and this is for December 1st of next year. I want to get your take, baseball purist, and of course, Brent. I'll get your comments in a second, Val, etc. Baseball is heading to an Armageddon. I said this during my baseball preview back in March, and I understand it was way too premature to talk about it, but we know that the players and owners can't stand each other, and the owners want to put forth a salary cap, which the players don't want because they want to have contracts similar to what we've seen here with Vladimir Guerrero, $500 million, and even Juan Soto, which are anomalies because Soto, at 26 years of age, he came into the prime years of his career and is able to make this exorbitant amount of money. If he was 31 years old, he would have never gotten $765 million. And for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., same deal. Not that he was going to get anything close to what Soto got, but $500 million is nothing to sneeze at. And considering he's 20, I think he's about 27 years of age. So knowing that these guys have pretty much the bulk of their career ahead, obviously they hit the jackpot. And with the owners, they don't want to pay those type of contracts. I know Steve Cohen and even the owner of the Toronto Blue Jays, they have money that they could burn. And the Blue Jays, they were in the mix for Ohtani, for Judge, and players like that. So with the discord between both the owners and the players, and for me personally, as a baseball fan for life, my first love, etc., when we get to December 1st of next year, because I would absolutely be shocked if the players and owners come to an agreement before then, because the owners want a salary cap. And I think a salary cap, not only just a ceiling, but a floor, is needed in baseball. So just because, let's say, the ceiling is at 300, that doesn't mean the Marlins are going to spend $86 million, which I believe is their current payroll. No, they have to go to at least 150. So they're going to have to spend money because they make a ton of revenue based on the big teams in the sport: Yankees, Red Sox, Mets, Dodgers, Phillies, going down the list. And what do they do with that money? They pocket it. That's no secret. That's been going on forever. So if they come through with a salary cap, that will annihilate these extreme contracts of not only 10, 12, 14 years. I'm sure they would probably try to do similar to what we've seen in the other sports, where the NHL, I believe now with their new CBA, it's 7 years max. NBA, if you stay with your current team, it's 5. If you go to another team, it's 4. NFL, we know that the guaranteed money is the big money there, even though the contracts, and that goes to the quarterbacks, because the pass rusher, the left tackle, et cetera, is going to make what? Anywhere between 100 and 130 million. The quarterback's going to make 250 and up, but they're going to get that money guaranteed because there's no guaranteed contracts in the NFL unless you're Deshaun Watson. But for baseball, they don't want to hear that. And guess what? There needs to be some competitive balance, because once every 3 or 4 years, the Arizona Diamondbacks or even the Texas Rangers, I got to have a payroll, and they won the World Series, and actually they're playing pretty well now, despite the fact they lost the last 2 to the Angels. But, yeah, what are you going to have every year? Yankees, Dodgers, Yankees, Phillies. You had Astros, Phillies the year before that. I get it, Arizona, Texas was 2023. 2021, you had Astros, Braves. And it's not as if the Braves payroll, although they're smart and very shrewd with their deal making. Obviously, Ronald Acuna Jr., when he signed that contract many years ago, 8 for $100 million. The guy is, face it, he's could be worth in this market $350 to $450 million. And he didn't have to sign that deal. We all know what happened from that point on. But all I got to say is this: baseball has to get it fixed. And you have these issues with the TV markets where you had the regional sports networks with Bally bottom up, and then FanDuel had to swoop in to come save the day. And I understand not every team is going to have a regional network. They're not going to have Yes. They're not going to have Nesson. They're not going to have SNY for the Mets. I get that. But baseball needs to correct it. And the only way to correct it is to have that salary cap. And even though the players are going to be steadfast and not wanting to go that route, and the owners may feel the same. And even though the likes of Nick Castellanos, who was part of that whole Bryce Harper, Rob Manfred, and if you don't know by now, I believe it was a week or so ago where they were pretty much nose to nose, where Manfred came out and suggested certain things, and Bryce Harper said, "Get the F out of my clubhouse." And then Manfred retorted back, and even though cooler has prevailed, but it's a situation where this is oil and water. There's no way this is going to mix. And me as a baseball fan, and I'm going to say this out loud right now for everybody to hear. Even if it took baseball 2 years to get this fixed, I think 1 year would really be a lot, because think about it. The Bryce Harpers, the guys that make the big-time money, do you know that the rank and file, whether it's the reliever, the fifth starter, well, usually a fifth starter is going to make a couple $1 million, but it's the utility player, the rookie eligible. Do you know that 60% of the Major League Baseball players are the rank and file, where the 40% are making more than the minimum, which is what, $710,000? So even if they were to strike or get locked out for a year, the rank and file, they're going to be the ones to push the button to say, hey, let's get this fixed because I need to earn a living. I have a family, I have a couple of kids, I have a mortgage, etc. Because not every baseball player is making 10 years at $400 million, $40 million a year. And remember, the last CBA in 2022, when that got passed, the executive board, which is led by Scott Boras' clients, which is a joke. But those guys, of course, they're paid in full. They're set. They're good. But the utility infielder or the utility outfielder or the mop-up reliever or the guy that is now in his second year in the league and has a kid on the way and, trying to bought a mansion that he may have to foreclose on because he's not making any money if they go past 2026 without a new collective bargaining agreement. Those are going to be the guys that are going to be panicking. Those are going to be the guys that are going to be sweating. Those are going to be the guys that are going to put the pressure on that executive board. Remember, Max Scherzer was on that. I believe Garrett Cole was on that. And those are all Boras clients. So in order to get it fixed, if they sat out a year to get it fixed, I'm all for it. If it took 2 years, I'm all for it because the sport needs it. Look how successful the NFL's been. NBA, those two sports right now pale in comparison to Major League Baseball. Despite what you may hear about attendance and so on and so forth, and yes, that may be good. But yeah, how's attendance going to be in Pittsburgh over the last 2 months? Or attendance in Miami over the last 2 months? And they've been a little pesky here, but they're not going to make the postseason. I mean, come on. Are we serious? They had 20,000 in St. Louis a couple of weeks ago. I forgot who was it against. 20,000 St. Louis, where they never boo their players and they always sell out. And when you think about it, other than the St. Louis Blues is the only team in town. They don't have an NBA team. The NFL team went back to LA. So the Cardinals are it in St. Louis. They're not selling out. So I don't want to hear that baseball, they're selling out in all these ballparks, that the attendance records are through the roof. Well, yeah, I'm sure I can name more than a few cities. How about Colorado? Are they selling out their building? Pittsburgh? I don't think so. So that's my point when it comes to that. So with Manfred and the players, that's going to be a fight to the finish. And who knows, to the bitter end. It's going to be Armageddon. And they still have a year to work it out. But that is going to be, once you get to spring training, that's going to be all the rage. And I talked about this before the start of this year because I know that this is going to be literally a clash of the Titans in the arena, swords, arrows, you name it. And here I'm talking about labor negotiations, and we're in the middle of a baseball season. But no, I'm glad that you brought that up, baseball purists. Yes, they should probably worry about lockouts, and let's hope that the White Sox win today. But, yeah, the Phillies, they're another team. They're Jekyll and Hyde, and who knows. Let's see. My guy Brent, any thoughts on what the Jays might want to need while they stay in pat? Well, now they've lost 4 in a row, and not to say that the sky's falling in Toronto. To me, I think the rotation is good. I don't trust it, though. You could always use more relievers. I would try to get even another starter there because Kevin Gausman, good. Jose Barrios, good. And I understand when you get to October, it's a thing where these pitchers, they're going to get yanked at the sign of any peril. You know, it could be the 4th inning, no score. The starter could be at like 45 pitches, and he could give up a hit and walk the next guy and then ready to go to the bullpen. I mean, it's a joke. That's how baseball is in 2025. So, yeah, if I'm the Blue Jays, I would I mean, I love your lineup. I think the lineup is stout as long as Springer stays healthy. Obviously, he, Guerrero, Bichette. I like the right fielder, too. What's that kid's name? Austin Barner, I think his name is. I like him. Yeah, I would just try to pick up another bat off the bench, another reliever and starter if I'm the Blue Jays, because here's a team that over the last few years has been either good or good enough. Now, in the last 4 years, they lost to Seattle in that 2022, which was bad. Very bad when I think about it, because I remember it had that 8-1 lead in game 2, and then they spit the bit and lost that game. And then in 23, didn't they lose to the Twins? Was that last year? They lost to the Twins in the first round, where the Twins finally won the series, even though it was a wild card. And then last year, they didn't make it, I believe, the Blue Jays, right? Or I maybe got my years mixed up. So they have this window with these players that, yes, I would say go out and get people. And they're in first place now. I get it that the Yankees, they've been floundering. And you would expect them to turn it around at some point, because every year they go through this June into July swoon, and then they come out swinging in August and September. So the Jays, although have been hot, and yes, they are in first place and have a 4-game lead, but the big number there is 3 in the loss. So if they're tied in the loss, that's it. And you know the Yankees, I believe they have a game or 2 in hand. So that's something you got to keep in mind there, Brent. But I think they should definitely get some reinforcements. And I think all the teams that are in competition, maybe not the Dodgers, because the Dodgers, they got players that are on the IL that when they come off of the IL, it's like they got them in a trade. But yeah, teams that are already either, I don't want to say entrenched, but you would think are in a good spot to make the postseason, whether it's the Phillies, they need a closer in the worst way. Who knows if they're going to call the Twins to get that kid who's very good as a hard-throwing right-hander. The Cubs, Brewers. How about the Brewers? Now they're in first place 2 games as they beat the Cubs in these first 2 games. They'll have the finale today if the Cubs could salvage that series. If not, there'll be 3 back of the Cubs in the NL Central. But I think all those teams should try to get reinforcements. They should not rest on their laurels. They should not think that, hey, we're set, whatever. Dodgers excluded. To me, they got so many guys injured that when they come back and they're whole and healthy, they probably will be tough to beat. But I certainly wouldn't even go there if I'm the Dodgers. But everybody else certainly needs reinforcements, including the Blue Jays. My guy Nike, I'm glad I'm here too. I'm glad you're here. Blessings to you and all that's here. Nike, I go way back with him, going back to 1999. Big Met fan and also big supporter here of the podcast and live stream. So I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you too, Nike. Baseball purist. Phillies all of a sudden hitting with dead balls. Fake servers to their top stars. Oh, you're talking about, what's his name? I don't know when he's coming back, by the way. Jose Alvarado. Yeah, he's probably coming back sometime, I would think, toward the end of next month, because that 80-game suspension, when did he get that? In May? So he's probably going to come back then. And remember, Alvarado's not eligible for the postseason. So that's also something interesting. Even though he's a guy that implodes in big spots, all we got to do is look at Game 6 of the World Series, where I think that ball's still going with Yordan Alvarez hit dead center. But the Phillies, yes. Yeah, I don't trust them either, man. And I understand they made the playoffs the last 3 years, World Series 3 years ago, NLCS 2 years ago. And I get it. If they start hitting and if they all catch on fire at the same time, they could be dangerous. But yeah, I don't trust the Phillies. I don't. But watch, as I say that now, we'll be in October and it'll be in an NLCS up 3-1, and then I'll have to eat those words. But let's see. Brent, hey, baseball purists, I agree with your statement. Harper said, yeah, I know Harper came out, was a little strong. And listen, I get it. He's a very energetic, I'm not going to say high-strung because I don't know him personally, but we know he brings a lot of fire, a lot of passion. And who knows, maybe whatever Manfred said triggered him to say, get the F out of my clubhouse. But yeah, it's not the right thing to say. If he say, hey, enough, get out of here, whatever, all right, fine. Now the cursing, I mean, listen, everybody curses. I mean, it's not trying to be the morality police by any stretch, but could he have handled that a little bit better? And again, there's no cameras. We weren't there to see what was going on. I could see if he ran up to him, put his finger in his face and said, hey, get the F out of my clubhouse. Now that's uncalled for. But if he had heard enough and he screamed across the room or maybe take a couple steps toward him, he said, hey, Come on, Rob. Get the F out of my clubhouse. Maybe a different story, but let's see what's going to happen between the players and the owners down the road. My guy, James D., another one I go way back. Maybe give Lindor today off. I know he's been awful. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. And now you got to worry about Soto, even though the x-rays were negative on that, he took yesterday, the foul ball off his foot. Now, I would say why not? He's probably not going to do so considering it's an afternoon game. They have a day off tomorrow before the Giants come to town. And I would think Lindor is going to ask to be in the lineup. And what even makes matters worse too, James, is that because after winning 7 in a row and they lost these 2 games, and the game Monday was inexcusable. Let me get to that now that I think about it. I understand a 5-1 lead in the 5th inning. It's not a 5-1 lead in the 8th inning. So even though Frankie Montas imploded and couldn't hold a 5-1 lead, couldn't give you one more inning for the Mets to get out of that and maybe somehow salvage that game 1, because then it would have been a rubber match. But I would think Mets don't want to get swept here, and they're going to see the Padres in September. That Lindor is going to want to play today. And if he does, all right, fine. But hopefully when he gets home, that's it. Spend time with your kids. Enjoy. Don't even get near a batting cage or put a glove on. None of that. But with Soto, he's probably going to be another one. If he feels like he could run or get in the batter's box, he's going to want to play to try to snap this modest 2-game losing streak. But that game on Monday, Emil Jimenez, he is now the new Angel Hernandez. And I haven't seen a lot of his other games that he's called, but either he had dinner reservations, has something against Juan Soto, or just has terrible eyesight, because that at bat, what was that, in the 3rd inning, where I think on that 2-1 count. Now, when he got rung up before Mendoza got kicked out of the game, that was a borderline strike. Now, it was tough. As you saw there with the strike box, it was just a bit outside. And you know what? I'll give him that. But the call before that, I mean, that was a joke. I mean, how he called that a strike, I mean, that was clearly framed nice by the catcher, but that was clearly outside. And that's where Soto was up in arms. He said, whoa, what are you talking about? And then the other pitch he tried to sell where, and that's when Mendoza came out and got rung up. But what was more egregious was that call in the 8th inning. The strike that the catcher caught it up here was at his eyeballs. Not Soto's eyeballs, but the catcher in a squat position. He caught it up here and rung him up. Now, listen, at that part of the game, I get it. It was 6-5 because Mauricio hit the home run to tie the game in the 9th, and then he lost in the 9th inning. And you don't want to get rung up there. Maybe if it was 8-3, maybe Soto would have argued enough and then he would have got tossed. But I tell you, that Emil Jimenez, that's one guy I got his license plate, because whenever he's going to be part of an umpiring crew, and especially if he's going to be behind home plate against the Mets anytime soon, that is a guy that I'm going to have my radar locked in big time, because he was just god-awful there on Monday night. And those calls, I'm sure they're on YouTube somewhere. Check them out, because, that was just baseball umpiring at its worst. So that's what we got there with Lindor. And let's see. The game is at 4:10. So I don't think it's too early for the line. Oh, no, maybe the lineup card will probably be out shortly, if anybody could check on that while we're on live. And don't worry, I'm going to go through the comments, and I'm going to get to the giveaway. I was going to do that here at 12:30 at the bottom of the hour, but because I got a lot of comments coming in, I want to respond to all of them. So, yeah, I'm going to do that. But, yes, small giveaway. And based on last week, speaking of James, who was the guy who said, hey, I want to get one of those hats. Well, here you go. This cap is going to be the giveaway. I understand it's nothing big. It's not like I'm giving tickets away to a game or a big swag bag. Maybe down the road, once this live stream really gets on the tracks, I got a lot of other people coming in and maybe some sponsors that want to be a sponsor here so I can put their logo on here and they're going to pay me to have the logo. Then we're really talking. Maybe they'll even provide a little swag bag too to go along with some J-Reels merchandise. But this is going to be the giveaway. And I have a trivia question. I don't think it's that difficult. For those who remember the anniversary show back in March, where I had a couple of questions, and even though it was fun, I have that archived on the YouTube channel if you want to go back. It's long. It's 5.5 hours, but you could fast forward through it. And I believe the first trivia question, I think, was early in the live stream. But it was good. It was animated, a lot of back and forth. I had a couple of guests on a podcast with my guy, Jai Shields, and also someone who used to work, I believe currently works at, I want to make sure I get it right, Erica Fernandez, who is a digital content creator. So it was fun. You want to go back in the archives and check that. But I'll pose the question at 1 o'clock. All right. So no matter what the comments, no matter what's coming through, I'll make sure to have the question live at 1, and hopefully we'll go to the bottom of the hour. I have to go beyond, then fine. Or maybe I'll just come up with a softball question just so I can have a winner. And then I also want to talk about a couple other things, content related, that I want to include you guys and gals, and also something I have pretty ambitious to boot with all that being said. All right, so Val, Pirates, Giants didn't have enough hits. You watched it? Yeah. Listen, they lost 6-5. Now, listen, you think 5 runs would be enough, but obviously the Pirates outscored you, so that's going to be tough sledding. And yes, Giants played 12:45 your time, 3:45 my time today. What else you got, Val? I see Matt Chapman did well, Justin Verlander. Oh, no, that was Monday's game, right? Wasn't 3-1 Monday, I believe. Giants scored 54. Yeah, they're tied at 5. And listen, they were 5 over at 54 and 49, and now they're at 500. And listen, if that's a guy that's going to stop a losing streak, it's Logan Webb. So you would only hope that he would be the guy to stop the bleeding there. And the Giants third place, yes, in the National League West, behind the Padres and Giants. Baseball, Anthony Santander. What, is that the guy that you want? I'm curious. Now, the Blue Jays. How has he done this year? Last year he hit, 44 home runs, I believe? Let me see what Santander has done. I know he's had his moments, but he hasn't really lit the world on fire, if you ask me. All right, Santander. He's probably been hurt, right? Yeah, I believe it. He's on the IL. Yeah, 50 games. That's why you haven't heard of him. Resume swinging for a couple more weeks. He has a shoulder issue. Oh, I recall that now, yeah. And boy, what did they sign him? 5 years, $92 million, I think it was. And his production. All right, he's been hurt, I understand. 6 homers, 18 RBIs, batting .179. Yeah, that's a guy you could keep. And obviously, he's not healthy, so. James, Mets bullpen gave me oh, my goodness. Yeah, their bullpen is just Jose Buto last night, the Reed Garretts of the world. Huascar Brazoban, who had a great 2 months, and then all of a sudden just nosedive. He gets sent down. They bring in Chris Davinsky, and Davinsky gives up a run there yesterday. I don't know. I don't know what David Stern's going to do here in his next, 29 hours? He's got to get more arms. Bullpen. Because the starters are going to be who the starters are. Kodai Senga, Dave Peterson, Clay Holmes. Then you have drawing blanks here all of a sudden because I'm thinking about their rotation. I've been thinking about their bullpen. Jay Reels, get to it. Senga, Peterson, Holmes. Why am I drawing blanks here all of a sudden? I was going through this morning in preparation for all this. This is what happens. You get brain lock. I know I'm probably going to get help here by the guys in the chat room here. I can't believe this. Your boy is just all of a sudden have a brain lock. What is going on with me? I promise you, I'm okay. I'm fine. I could have slept a little bit better, but nevertheless, and for whatever the reason, I'm drawing blanks here on this Met pitching staff. All right, I'm going to have to pull up the numbers here. I know people are probably saying, Jay Reels, you sure you're all right? I promise you I'm okay. I just talked about Frankie Montas before. Yes, Montas was the other guy I was thinking about. And Sean Manaea. Thank you. I know. For whatever the reason, I had Tyler McGill on the brain, who we know has been out. Griffin Canning on the brain, I know has been out. I know Manaea's just recently come back, as we know. Montas has come back in the last month, as we know. And those are the 2 guys that, for whatever the reason, I had complete brain freeze. So my apologies, my good people. Jeez. I know it's hot here. I got a fan on. I didn't want to put the AC on. And I'm sure you probably hear the fan in the background. I just didn't want it as noise coming through the microphone. But, yeah, that was just a terrible job here by someone who's only watched the Mets since 1973. So I think they're going to just strictly get bullpen because those are going to be your 5 starters. And even if McGill comes back, Canning is not because he blew out of tires, with the Achilles. But I would think they would have to go more arms. And maybe if they're going to get a center fielder, I know I've mentioned Cedric Mullins in the past. Do they go that route? I don't know. I know he's a guy that his average is terrible, but he does. And that's the thing. He's a left-handed bat. He can platoon with Tyrone Taylor, but it's not as if he's hitting the cover off the ball. So, but, oh, man, I'm still trying to get over the just terrible brain freeze that I had there. Not good. All right, Brent, what do you got? Any thoughts on the Brew Crew? Listen, that team has been, I have to say, when you trade away Devin Williams and you bring in Tyler McGill's brother, Trevor, to be the closer, and Willie Adames goes to San Francisco, a guy who was a big focal point of their offense last year, and understand Joey Ortiz, the guy that's going to be the heir apparent. But they have been stupendous. I mean, I can't even stress how good they've been. And considering they won the first 2 games against the Cubs here, and the Cubs have been in first place pretty much throughout the entire season, and now they've got themselves in, all right, listen, 2 games is not 10 games, but you do have to understand that for a small market, now, listen, Milwaukee's not New York, Philly, Boston, L.A., Chicago, etc. But you do have to respect the way they've been able to put that team together. The one thing that I fear about them, and although they have a really good pitching staff, the one thing I fear about them is that they're more of a regular season team. Kind of like the Tampa Bay Rays of this last 5-6 years. I think they'll go out, win 90, 95, even 100 games. I believe the Rays didn't win 100 games 2 years ago, and they got ousted in the first round. That's the one thing that scares me because they don't have a lineup that's going to jump off the page. They don't have, and they have a good lineup. Jackson Chourio, Rhys Hoskins, Joey Ortiz, Bryce Terang. I mean, again, not many teams have Murderers Row, but it's not like you go down the list. Phillies, we know who they have. Met lineup, we know who they have. Dodger lineup, we know who they have. The Brewer lineup can't stack with the Dodgers, Phillies, and Mets. No way. So that's the one thing I'd worry about them come October, where they're going to face better pitching, and for whatever the reason, they have good rotation in their own right. Brandon Woodruff coming back from that shoulder he had even, 2 years ago. He's been stout. Freddie Peralta, you got the rookie there, Jacob Mizorowski, a guy that obviously was an all-star by, 5 weeks or whatever it was, and we argued back and forth about that. Jose Quintana, as you know, Met fans remember, he's a guy that is a very solid, steady arm. So you would think as long as their pitching holds up, they will win a lot of 3-2-2-1 games, but sometimes in the postseason, you're going to need some big-time offense. Not to say you got to score 8 runs, and to me, they can't match up against those other offenses. But I think the Brewers, they are very solid. I won't go as far as saying spectacular, because spectacular would mean that they're a team that could go to an NLCS or even a World Series. And I didn't even mention Christian Yelich, who obviously is a far cry from his wild card self. Giants will do something like a trade. Now, they've done a lot of trades here from Devers and bringing in free agents, as you know. I don't know if they're going to tack on more payroll or trade, for another piece. Their rotation, I think, is fine. You could always use another arm. Yeah, I think their offense, maybe more relief help, because other than that, I mean, the Giants, think about it. You have Devers, you have Adames, you have Chapman, you have a pretty good offense. Now, and their rotation is good too. I would think probably more relief. And the sad part is that when they hit, they don't pitch, and when they pitch, they don't hit. They got to be able to mesh the two in order for them to get any type of consistency going to win. But If they do something, I think it's going to be minor. I don't think it's going to be major because, remember, they've brought on a lot of payroll. They signed Chapman to a big deal. Obviously, they're taking on the rest of Devers' contract. Adames is $177 million. If you do the math, you break it down, they're not going to bring in another $20 million player. They're not going to bring in a guy that's going to make a fortune. So you think they're going to go somewhere middling, whether it's I don't know. I'm not going to say they're going to go for an 8th inning guy, but a good 7th inning reliever, maybe a 5th starter. I think that's where they'll go, but I don't expect them to do anything big here over the next 24 hours plus. Brent, sorry for my ignorance on baseball. Just wanting to hear about ban. Well, he was banned for 2 years. Yeah, I think they uplifted that ban, but nobody wants to touch him. And even though he was never charged, and even though the details were rather salacious, but nobody's going to give him a second chance. And Bauer is a personality. Of course, he liked to be on Twitter. I don't know about him recently, but always had something to say on socials and was a guy that was very outspoken, got embroiled in this mess with this woman. And then, of course, it came out that this woman was involved with somebody else that had these similar situations when it came to behind bedroom closed doors and things of that nature. But I don't think he's banned anymore because he had that 2-year suspension. You want to say blackballed. You want to say that there's been a ban, so to speak, where nobody wants to touch him. And Bauer's what? He's got to be in his mid-30s. I mean, he pitched for Cleveland dating back to that World Series year in 2016. So even if he was 24, he's got to be, 34 minimum. Let me see. Trevor Bauer. I would say he's got to be, he's 34. So, and he last pitched in the major leagues 4 years ago. So, yeah, he's not banned, but nobody wants to touch him. That's the thing, based on his past. And is it unfortunate? It is. Because you would think that if he wasn't charged, didn't do any jail time or any probation, anything like that, that he would get a second chance. But if he was just more of a mild-mannered guy, maybe, I guess. But we know his track record. And then remember, he got pulled from that game, I believe it was in Kansas City, when Terry Francona was the manager, where he threw the ball over the center field fence. And then a couple days later, he got traded to Cincinnati. So, and that was in what? That may have been 2019, I think it was. Yeah, because then he was a Red in 2020, and he won the Cy Young that year, and then he signed a deal with the Dodgers, and then that mess came about, and he hasn't pitched since. So, yeah, he's not banned. Bio, what's happening? Look at that. Blake Snell have a sighting. And listen, that's good for the Dodgers because they want to have some continuity going into October. They don't want to have guys in and out of the lineup, especially in the rotation. And I get it that because of the resources that you guys have, that you could piecemeal it together throughout the course of the year and even have Clayton Kershaw at 38 years of age start and be effective. But once you get to when the money's on the line, you would like to have a semblance of a rotation. You don't want to have a situation where you're going to have to start an opener in Game 4 of a World Series, or you have to start an opener in Game 4 of a division series, which they had to do last year. You don't want to do that, despite the fact baseball, it's not as if you're going to roll out these starters and they're going to pitch 7 innings, whether they do it on short rest or full rest, or even if they have 70 pitches in the bank. It's like 7 is the new 9. Really, in essence, 5 1/3 is the new 9 innings. I mean, let me not go down that road. But it's good to see Snell come back. I want to see how he's going to perform down the stretch. Listen, we want to see the Dodgers whole and see what they do with these guys, whether it is Yamamoto, who's pitched well recently, or Snell, Glasnow. Who knows if Sasaki comes back, so we'll see. Yeah, James, no doubt. An absolute disaster. Umps overall been terrible. Maybe the whole, yeah, who knows? And they used it during the All-Star game, which I did not watch. So I don't know if there are any calls overturned or what have you, but have the umps, but have the automated balls and strikes. So then if somebody does challenge, it comes up and that's it. Case closed. Yeah, baseball purists, I said Toronto Blue Jays right field. Oh, yes. My apologies. It is. And he hasn't played. So, and that's why I think the other kid, that Austin Barner, I believe is his name, who's been very good. That guy is, I've seen him kill the Yankees, especially in that 4-game series back in early this month. That guy has been pretty good. And is a guy that's, I want to say, come out of nowhere, because it's not as if this guy was some guy. It's Barger's name, Addison. I want to say Austin. Yeah, I haven't been drinking, people. This is water, H2O. This is not vodka. Addison Barger's his name. I said Barner, Barger. Screwing up here, people. Maybe I should turn the air on, because I'm getting a little hot, and I don't want to use that as an excuse. I got to come correct here, whether it's that or knowing the entire Met pitching staff and, for whatever the reason, just drawing complete blanks. Ugh, not good. All right. Let's get it together here. Yes, Nike. I know Manaya. I know. Terrible job on my part. Canning. I know. Yeah, he's done for the year. Yes. Bad job. Bad. Yes, thank you, baseball purist. I know you're probably laughing at me as I pull up these. Speaking of Achilles, what's the deal? I've never seen so many in 1 year. I know. NBA players, even NFL players. You may have a scenario. What did I read this morning? Who did I read that may have an Achilles injury? Oh, Ronald Acuna Jr. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that's not the case. Contreras, yeah, exactly. On the Brewers, maybe some help. Do NBA teams employ science-based medical for preventive injuries? I'm sure they do. And people want to attribute to the sneakers, the low-cut sneakers. I won't go as far as saying that. I'm sure that could be part of the reason, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, then what about the cleats with baseball? I mean, with Griffin Canning, or even if, let's say, Acuna does have an Achilles injury, is it the cleats now? Is it stretching? I mean, who knows? Val, will the Giants win today? I'm going to say yes, because Logan Webb is pitching. How about that? He's all over the internet. I think he was pitching in Japan, did the Kenny Powers for a little while. Oh, just wondering. Yeah. No, he's a guy that, as you know, is, yeah, I mean, he's just a character. From his days in Cleveland, obviously Cincinnati, posting every 5 minutes, trying to clap back, etc. And then I guess he's laid low. Who knows? But turn it on. Comfort is the key. Yes, but sometimes being uncomfortable is also the key, but not when it's affecting what I do. So who knows? I'm going to go to 1 o'clock, and let's see what happens there. Maybe after 1, I'll turn it on, which means I have to walk away from the camera for a second, because I don't have my remote here to turn it on automatically. But then again, it's good to get up, stretch for a little bit. So let's see what you got. Thank you, Val. Much appreciated there, as always. A little off topic. How's the running going? Why racing? Any race in the future? My guy, James, he is one that I'm going to shout him out. He's a runner, does a lot of volunteering. Much props goes out to you and what you do to support the running community. And I've actually thought about doing a run club myself. I know that's been all the rage right about now. Call it the Reels Run Club at some point. I don't know when I'm going to do it. Just a thought. I'm throwing that out here now. But as far as my running is going, it actually has improved quite a bit. And for those who don't know, I love to run. I have been doing it for years. I was a member of the New York Road Runners Club back 2015-16. I dropped out, and I want to get back into it because I would like to even do another New York City Marathon, which I did in 2016. But the running has improved a lot, and I run in this heat. I'm planning to run tonight. I ran over the weekend. Saturday's my long day. So I like to do a long day a long day Saturday, and try to squeeze in runs Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I want to run 4 times a week. So I average my runs could go anywhere between 4 or 6 miles. The long days depends. I want to do minimum 7. I could go up to 12, depending on the day. And I do proceed with caution with the heat. Not trying to be a hero or anything like that. But if I go, I try to run in the shade. New York City, sidewalks, trees. So I make sure I steer clear of the shade. And yeah, it's going pretty well. And I'm sure for you too, James, because I know you're out there doing what you're doing. So continue the good work. And I appreciate the question, man. Thank you very much. Baseball purist. Hey, listen, the Blue Jays, I don't know. The Orioles have been a dead team walking. And talk about a team that needs to win in the worst way. Now the Yankees, all of a sudden, who knows? Hopefully the Rays win tonight. So They gained a game and a half yesterday in the standings. So, listen, Toronto's a team I can't trust. I can't. I like them. I think they have talent. And hopefully they're going to make a move here before 6 p.m. tomorrow. But as I mentioned earlier, now I get it, 3 years ago, different cast of characters, but you blow an 8-1 lead at home in a playoff game, and you pretty much have the same cast of characters on that team that you do here, for the most part, that's not good. And right, what does 2025 have to do with 2022? It doesn't. But when you have the makeup of a team that is a front runner, and granted that they weren't going to be torrid from here on out, but they got to stop the bleeding. As a matter of fact, who's pitching today? I need to know. Let me pull that up real quick. Yeah, 1-0. Bottom one, they got a runner on third right now, 2 outs. We've thrown 22 pitches in the first inning. So, yeah, Jays need to win this game. I believe that's a 5-game series. They're going to play tomorrow. So, yeah, let me double check that. No, maybe today's – it's a 4-game series in 3 days. Yeah, I thought it was 5. Yeah, so today's the last. And let me see what Toronto plays over the weekend. And mind you, the Blue Jays, they went into Detroit after winning 2 out of 3 to the Yankees last week. They won the first 3 games. They lost the last game, and since then they haven't won. And they've lost to the Orioles, where the Orioles are just god-awful. I mean, you can't make it up, but that's baseball for you. Yeah, Toronto does not play tomorrow. They conclude their series in Baltimore today, and they'll play Kansas City over the weekend. And Kansas City, of course, is floundering. Oh, look at this. Now it's 3-0. Whomever was up, they just probably hit a 2-run homer. Let me just see here. Yeah, of course. Ryan O'Hearn, homer to right, 3-0. I tell you. Blue Jays, now they're starting to free fall. Not good. So let me see what else you got here. Yes, baseball. And I may be out there Saturday. I may. New York Summer Street Saturday. Yes, for those who aren't familiar in New York City, they closed Park Avenue, I believe, from 96th Street. Maybe it's 125th. I think last year was 125th, if I'm not mistaken. And Park Avenue, as you know, even though it does go up to 125th, but the way 96th Street, you have the train tracks, the Metro North. But 96th Street all the way down to Brooklyn Bridge, which just gave me a thought. Maybe I'll do that run. Maybe going uptown, though. I'll take the train to Brooklyn Bridge and then run all the way up to 96th Street. I just thought of that. That's what I'm going to do. Not this weekend, because I talked about it with the wife, maybe going and take the puppy out. The following weekend, I'll be out of town. But that last Summer Streets Saturday, even if it rains, I'll get out there and I'll run all the way up. And Baseball Pierce, I don't know if you're a runner. If you're down, we could definitely do that. Yes, as you just said, 3-0. Or as I just mentioned. And Val, 16 home runs for the season. Chapman, yes, leads the team, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But Summer Streets, I'm looking forward to that. That should be a lot of fun. All right, now with 2 minutes to the top of the hour, let me just squeeze in a couple of things real quick before I get to other things. I got to mention this real quick. Ryan Sandberg dies at 65. Terrible story. I remember Sandberg as a boy. Who could forget if you're a Met fan? And James, I know you're one. And maybe even Baseball Pierce. I don't know how old you are, but 1984. Doc's rookie year. Darrell's second year. Davey Johnson's first year. Cubs Mets went at it all summer long. And Ryan Sandberg was number 1 in the MVP race over Keith Hernandez, which was Hernandez's first full year in New York. And that's where we got the full grasp of Ryan Sandberg, that Saturday afternoon game of the week when he hit the 2 home runs off of Bruce Sutter. I believe the second one was also for him too. Homer in the 9th to tie and won the game in the 11th. And Gold Glove shortstop, a guy that I don't believe he was a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he eventually made it in and deserving of it, despite the fact he was 285 lifetime. He had 282 home runs, and he had, 2,300 hits. I know he didn't get the magic numbers, the 3,000s and the 500 hits and 500 home runs and numbers like that, and, 300 average for his career. But second base back then, you were a light-hitting second baseman, not like today where even going back 20 years ago when Jeff Kent was 30 and 100 every year. Now you have shortstops and second basemen that are hitting for power numbers. Back then, that wasn't the case. Your power numbers were your right corner outfielders, first base, third base. You never had a shortstop or a second baseman that had power capability. And he had speed, he had power, clutch player, only played in 2 postseasons, 84 when they lost to the Padres in 5, and in 89 when they lost to the Giants. Then later on became a manager with the Phillies, the team that would originally drafted him, and then they traded him for Ivan De Jesus. He and Larry Bowa got shipped to Chicago in one of the big-time trades of all time. And Sandberg had a Hall of Fame career, and just terrible. A shame, 65, way too young. We knew he had prostate cancer. I believe it was in remission, and he was cancer-free. And then even as recent as 10 days ago or so, I had a comment about how, it's coming back, and he's going to continue to fight the good fight. And, I tell you, just terrible story. Terrible. And speaking of terrible, I'll get to that later on with the whole scenario regarding that mass shooting. I really even hate to bring that up, but let's get right to it, people. Today's giveaway. Showed it to you before. It's a minor giveaway, nothing big. The J-Reels cap. Don't worry, it'll be brand new, not the cap. It looks a little dusty and whatever. It has the website in the back, as you could probably see. And I do have a website, people. That's where you could get the podcast as well as Apple, Spotify, here on YouTube as well. So my trivia question has to do with the podcast, because I could have given you a sports one. And if nobody answers it between now and 1:30, I'm going to have to come up with a sports trivia. But for right now, here it goes, people. And I'll even elaborate a little bit more. No hints. There you go. What former guest of my podcast, currently on a major sports network, who was not on the network at that time of the interview, if you can name who that person is, you will get this hat. You just have to send your address. You don't have to put it in the chat. If you do get it, you can send it to me by going to the jreelspodcast@gmail.com. So, again, what former guest currently on a major sports network who was not at the network at the time of when I interviewed this person? And if I gave the gender, I may have given it away. So let's see if we got any answers here. Oh, they're going back to that one. Hold on. Before I get to that, there's a couple other baseball purists. I'm a runner, but I run 4 miles per hour really slow. I'm 50. That's fine. I got 6 years on you, my man. I'm 56. 4 miles an hour. Listen. Even if you want to somehow, some way meet up, we could do so. Hit me up at the jreelspodcast@gmail.com, and maybe we can make that happen. Maybe we get James out there too, as well. Boy, James may have a race or something that day because he's always out there on the weekends. I give it up to him. Now, Brent, I thought he played mostly second base. Oh, no, he did, Sandberg. Yeah, second base. What did I say, shortstop? If I said shortstop, then you know it's hot in here. But no, I know second base for sure. Number 23. That I can tell you. Bio. Jose was on his whole career, even in California. Yeah, WGN. Always on cable. Absolutely. I know. Rest in peace. And baseball purist, it wasn't Salicata. He was my very first guest, and that was the trivia question from the anniversary live stream. No, it wasn't Salicata. He was my very first guest. And good shot by those guys. Yes, of course. James. I see you. Licata. Brent Tillman, Jessica Kleinschmidt. No, good guess there, but no, it's not her. She actually is a reporter for the Oakland A's. So maybe I'll give a hint in the next few minutes. The only way to go back and look in the archives, you have to go to because even if you go on my website, it only houses the last 300 podcasts. You have to go to, I don't even know if like Spreaker or Stitcher would have it. I know that hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull this up. I know that even Apple Podcasts, I think it only goes back 300. Yeah, I know you got to do some homework, people. You got to go back. If not, I'll switch up and I'll make it simpler. The only reason why is because I'll give you a hint. Nah, it's too obvious if I give you that hint. She on this network that she's on this network. It's a major sports network. I mean, there's not many major sports networks out there. I mean, you could just process of elimination. She is a big contributor to the network, and in particular, a couple of shows on that network. When it comes to talking heads, you know, she's not the one that is a sideline reporter. I think I just gave it away too by the gender. Or at least half of it. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Let's see if I got any responses here. I was going to go back and look at something else. No responses yet. All right. So while we chew on that, let me touch on a couple other things. And if your answers pop up, I'll go back to the chat. I have to bring this up, people. I know this is a mess, whatever, but only because he targeted the NFL offices. Now, that area, Park Avenue, 50th Street, that plaza where the gentleman, what's his name, Shane, whatever. When I saw the photo of him carrying that AR-15 and it had that wide shot, that angle, it just goes to show you, you can't hide from anybody, people. There's cameras everywhere. And I understand he had his mental issues and figured that he had CTE dating back to his days in high school and trying to get to the NFL. We know the whole deal. And I see the comments there. I'll get to them in a moment. But when you see that, especially in a city where I live, and that plaza I've walked past, I can't even tell you how many times. In fact, if you go back to some of my old vlogs, in particular, the vlog that I had dating back last February, I probably published it in March. It's I quit my job to pursue this full time. When I came out of the subway, I crossed that plaza all the time to go to my old office building. And when I saw the picture, and prior to, because I heard Blackstone, somebody got involved, and I know Blackstone had offices in that vicinity. I believe it was on 51st between Park and Madison, because I have a friend that worked in that building at Blackstone, but now I believe he currently works where they moved, I believe the Hudson Yards. But when I first heard the story, I'm thinking Blackstone. I said, oh, geez, I thought about my friend. I know he didn't work in that building, but I'm thinking, oh, geez, yeah, I know exactly where it's at. But then when I see the picture of him in the plaza, I said, wait a minute. Blackstone is in that building too? And then when I found out that he was targeting the NFL, and I know the NFL headquarters are there because every time I walk past it, you see the NFL logo there at the front desk. And that was harrowing, to say the least, to think that, man, this guy walked through there. And I only walked there through in the morning because whenever I commuted going home, I either jumped on the express train at 59th Street or I met my wife near 42nd Street. So I never went past that, let's say, heading home from work, where let's say 6:30, and here I am shoulder to shoulder with this guy. Obviously, I haven't worked in that office in over a year and a half, or just about a year and a half. But, yeah, it hit home. And, yeah, that's the scary part. And you know how New York is with their gun laws, i.e. Plexico Burris, for those who remember him many moons ago. But awful story. Made you wonder if he was trying to target someone in particular in the NFL office. I'm not going to allege or speculate that, but I understand his goal was just to go in there and just, I'm trying to say this nicely, but yeah, cause a ruckus and leave people in their wake. That's terrible to even put it in that perspective, but just god awful. And knowing that the NFL was targeted, and I know some statements were released, so on and so forth, but, and for those who listen to me, you know, I pound on the NFL as much as I can, only because they just suffocate the room when it comes to their sport and et cetera, whatever. I love the NFL. I always have. And I have to say always will, unless I get to a point where I've had enough. But this is one, no matter how you slice it, it certainly does not look good. And granted that this was not a former player, granted that this was not someone who worked in the NFL, but someone who had maybe dreams of being an NFL player, and because of all the hits that he took in high school and wanted to use that as his motive to drive from Las Vegas to New York to show up with an AR-15 and start blowing people away. I mean, again, we knew that he had issues, but the NFL, as much as they try to sweep concussions and CTE under the rug as they did so when the League of Denial film came out in 2013, and based on the book, and of course they can't avoid that now. But this is, I gotta say, they'll sweep it under the rug, they'll poo-poo it, but this is ugly because it makes the NFL look bad. And granted, this isn't a situation where it's Dave Duerson, thank goodness. And sadly that people got lost in all this, which is unimaginable. But he even said, I want them to donate my brain for research. The guy who killed 4 people and then turned a gun on himself. And remember, he shot himself in the chest. So therefore, they could experiment on his brain. So the NFL, even on a day where you may be thinking about Justin Fields' toe, you got to hear about a guy who drove, 2,500 miles to do the damage that he did, unfortunately. And, I mean, you can't make it up. You just can't. So that's what I wanted to bring up there. All right, let me get to the comments here before I get to some other things. All right, here we go. Wait, baseball purist. Now, I'm going to go in order, people, so I'm not trying to cheat anybody out here. Hold on. Oh, wait, hang on. All right, up. I see we got a winner. All right, now remember, this is the last comment. Jessica Kleinschmidt, right? And I'm going to go in order. Baseball purist, Molly Karam. No, it was not her. I would love to have her on the podcast one day and hope to meet her one day. In fact, because we share the same birthday. Laura Rutledge. No, it is not Laura Rutledge. Baseball purist got a few of these going on. Elle Duncan. I'd like to have her on. Not at all. I like to have all these people on for that matter. Nicole Briscoe. No, it is not. Yes, Brent, you can. We can talk about that offline, if anything. Ashley Brewer. It is not. Baseball purist. I'm going to go through some of the other answers, but baseball purist was fast and furious. I guess he probably thought of everybody. Here's your winner, people. Monica McNutt. Monica McNutt was on MSG Network doing that studio show with Alan Hahn and Nick Pito and among others. And I reached out to her during the pandemic, and she did the podcast. She was on it. Very good. Fan of hers. Love her work. And now she's on ESPN, as you know, Get Up, and also contributes to the First Take show. Was drawing a blank there again. Still no AC. And she also does the Nick color commentating on the radio. So Monica McNutt is the answer. She was a former guest who works on ESPN, but was not on ESPN at the time of her being on the podcast. So baseball purist, if you want to send me, or unless you want to meet up sometime down the road, we can. But if you want to send me your address, the jrosespodcast@gmail.com, just send it to me, and I'll make sure to get it out to you at some point. But here's some of the other answers. Baseball purist at Mina Kimes. We'd love to have her on. Yes. Is her name Clarissa Thompson or Sarissa Thompson? I know she does the NFL stuff. Joy Taylor. I know she's unemployed right now. Alex Curry. Some of these people I love to have on. Jessica Mendoza, Alana Rizzo. I know Meredith. He went through it all. Michelle Margot. What else? Nikki. Yeah, she's another one I'd like to have on. Chelsea Sherrod. Yes, another. They're both on SNY. So, yeah. You covered it, Baseball Purist. You're the winner. Thank you so much. And then Brent said to Bio, as an Expos fan, yes. WGN. I know, he's an Expo fan. Brent, not a Blue Jay fan, despite the fact he lives in Ontario. So you got to give it up for Brent. All right. I appreciate those who chimed in on that. I'll do another giveaway next week. So hold your hats, no pun intended. And, if you want to hit me up, Brent, you already have my email. So if you want to hit me up to inquire more about that, please do so. All right, now here's a couple other things I want to touch on before I sign off. The goal of August, 31 days of streaming. I've really thought about this long and hard. And August 1st is just 2 days away. Now, I'm going to do my Wednesday live stream. That is a lock, no doubt. And I could also include my podcast pregame, which is, I'll put the graphic up. Podcast pregame live, 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. I should put this on YouTube. Let me update this as I speak. On YouTube. Yeah, and this is not through a link on live stream on StreamYard, which I do every week, as you know, every Wednesday. Let me create this to save, and here we go. So there you go on YouTube. So tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. roughly, whether it's a minute before, a minute after, I'm going to jump on board to do a podcast pregame live because I record the podcast right after that. Get your thoughts, what I should talk about, whatever it may be, and hopefully other people will hop on board. Last week was actually pretty successful. I had a few people chime in outside of the usual suspects. And I'm also trying to think of a name. We talked about this during the anniversary live stream, but maybe I should just call you guys the usual suspects. I know it's after the movie. It's maybe not as original as I'd like, but I know we're doing like Reels Rascals or Reels Rockers or the Reels Army. I know you got a bunch of armies out there and the Reels Hive or whatever. But besides the podcast pregame, I'm actually thinking about doing 31 days, which, again, will include the podcast pregame as well as the live stream. But the other days, whether it be a Tuesday, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those could be at random times. So I won't even schedule those. Those will just be when I have a moment. And that could be whatever, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour, no matter what. I'm actually thinking about doing that as a goal because I want to generate more interest in this channel. I know you guys do your best out there to spread the word to those who follow, watch, etc., which I, again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You know, I thank you guys and gals profusely. But, yeah, I'm trying to – listen, am I trying to be Kai Cenat or I Show Speed, Guy Speed? Those guys, listen, if I'm anywhere – even a quarter of that, I'd be ecstatic. But for what it is that I do, I want to be that conduit. I want to be that guy that is not only going to be on here sharing my thoughts, opinions, critiques, just like you guys and gals do, to go back and forth. That's the whole point of having these live streams, but also to be that fixture. Because, I mean, I don't know how many other sports people of my ilk, forget about like the Stephen A's and guys like that, guys who obviously you've come to know and love or whatever. I'm talking about guys like myself who have small channels or even big channels that do live streams. Yeah, I want to be able to do that and to have more of a presence to show that wherever it is that I'm at, yeah, we could talk about whatever, what's going on that day. Now, of course, I have a laptop in front of me. I'm able to at least pull up numbers or standing stats, etc. But no, to be able to talk to you about, hey, whether it's, and I've actually thought about going on a run and doing my live stream, which I still may do. I know it's tricky because you got to hold the phone. I did a live stream on Instagram like that last summer, I remember, but that was tough because every 5 seconds I had to shake it because of privacy guidelines. It's like, hey, why are you moving? What's going on? But yeah, I'm actually thinking about doing that. Love to get your thoughts. Now, again, it's random. It could be 5 minutes. It could be a half hour. It could be an hour. And chances are I do it from my phone. So it's not as if I'm doing it in a controlled environment where I have my camera connected to my hub, laptop, Wi-Fi, etc. So that would be Friday, right? So yeah, I'm highly considering it, and I should probably do it anyway, but I got to be consistent. And that's the one thing, to be able to show up and do that every day for 31 days, just as not only as a challenge for me, but also to expand myself out there to those who are going to see, well, who's this Jay Reels guy? And they jump on board, and who knows? Maybe they'll be gravitated toward me, and next thing you know, they'll end up subscribing. All right, so a couple of comments here. Can I donate the hat to the next giveaway? If you want, absolutely. Now, I'm curious, where would you donate the hat? Run with a selfie stick. Yeah, I could do that, baseball purist. Absolutely. And Nike, I see your, oh, you know what? Yeah, I started looking at that. Yeah, I'll get to that comment in a second. But Yeah, I'm curious, who would you donate it to? If I may ask. I mean, listen, if you don't want to answer, no sweat off my back. It's all good. But Sanders Zayas, yes, Nike. I know he's the next up-and-coming fighter. I know he fought this past weekend, I believe. And I can't tell you who he's fought. Boxing is way off of my radar. Not to say I would never watch boxing again or whatever, but I mean, it's become a shell of its old self. But I've heard of the kid. I know who the kid is. And let me pull up his record right now just so I can get a better feel. I think he's like 21 and he has 13 knockouts. I want to say he's 21 and 0, 13 knockouts. Zayas. Yeah, he's definitely Puerto Rican. Oh, he's one of my brothers. One that has the same birthday as my brother, Justin. All right, his record is, just so I get this. Yeah, he's 22 with 13 knockouts. He was 21, though, going to the fight. I did see that. And the guys he fought, the last guy he fought the other day, Jorge Garcia Perez. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys I'm not going to be familiar with, so I don't even know how good they are or whatever. But no, he's a guy that, listen, boxing needs an infusion of anything, any hope. And hopefully he'll be the guy to provide that. So let's see. He's what? 22 years of age, on the come up. I mean, how could I not root for a guy like that? So, yeah, Nike, I appreciate that comment. That's pretty good to have even some boxing thrown into the mix because, yeah, Lord knows it is a far cry from what it once was, certainly from the days when we watched, right, Nike? That's for damn sure. Next giveaway, the winner won 2 prizes. Yeah, I could get another prize, too. Hey, Purist, let me see. Fantastic about the giveaway. How about Mirjana and her son in Serbia? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're in the chat room today. I haven't seen them since last week. And that'd be great. I know Mirjana, WNBA, I watch sometimes, Val. That's good. And you got the Golden State Valkyries out there, so that you got the new team out in your neck of the woods. Yeah, I don't know. Mirjana and her son Vladislav, are in the house. If so, say hello. We'd appreciate that. But that's the goal right there. And then now the next thing I want to talk about, and I'll talk about that more on my pregame podcast pregame. I got it backwards tomorrow. But now here's the other thing. And I'm thinking about how I'm going to do this. I don't want to just do this like classroom, hey, pick me, whatever, anything like that. And, of course, maybe what I could do is, I'm sure you can hear the wheels turning in my brain. Maybe what I could do is have a scenario where if you want to send me a note, the jrosespodcast@gmail.com, feel free to do so because what I want to do is I want to include you guys and gals, meaning guest on a future live stream. So I want to go around the horn. So if that means, James, you want to come on board? I got you. I'll send you the link. The link that you got here is different from the link that I would send you to be a part of the live stream. Val, Brent, Baseball Purist, Nike, and yeah, we'll just chop it up. Talk sports. Whatever's on your mind, we'll get into it, talk about certain things, and that's that. I hope that's a good idea. I hope you guys would want to participate. If you don't know, sweat off my back. I wouldn't feel hurt because, again, I don't understand people aren't ready to be on camera or to get their voice heard or anything like that. But I just want to add another wrinkle to the live stream. And I want to have guests also, future guests. I get it that, Brent says I'm in. Perfect. So, yeah, because what I'll do is I'll do it random. Yeah, I just want to be a thing. All right, well, Brent, you're next week, like Oprah. And then, James, you're the following week. And no, I want to do this as organic as possible. So knowing that you're in, Brent, you don't have to send me news and notes. If anything, maybe on the Monday live stream, whomever else wants to participate, just say I'm in if you want to participate here, which would even be better. Or if you want to send me an email, that's fine. But for those who are in, what I'll do is I'll just draw your name out of a hat. So Monday's podcast in preparation for the Wednesday live stream next week, I'll make sure I'll go on. I'll say, all right, here's Brent, here's James, here's Val, here's this, is that, whatever. I'll throw them in a hat. Maybe I'll throw them in a J-Reels hat, right? And then shake it up. First one I pull out, and that's it. And then what we'll do is we'll have you on board that Wednesday. Does that sound fair? Does that sound cool? What do you think? So whoever wants to be in, type in "I'm in" the chat room or send me an email. And then what I'll do is, sounds cool. So James, you're in. Hang on. Make sure I get it up there. And yeah, just chop it up. Back and forth, whatever you want to present. Hey, James, you can talk about run clubs. You can talk about all that, especially for those who live in the New York area. And this is our open forum, our space for all of us. So, yes, Nike remembers that too. I did, and I still have that footage. And people have asked me over the years, which is crazy. I know where it's at. I got to dig that out. I got to just do a rough cut. Meaning, so instead of doing it all fancy, I'll just take all of the footage and splice it together and put it up. The thing is that my camera is in storage. I got to get that out. And that camera I haven't even used. Think about it. That my old video camera, which I haven't used since when? 2007, maybe? Because ever since the smartphone came out, everybody has cameras on their phone. Nobody uses those cameras anymore. So I got to really go back and look for that. But you know what? I have to really dig and see if the camera works and all that, dust that off. But yes, I did interview you, but this would be from a different perspective though, Nike, as you know. You can have a few of us if that works. Maybe I could do that too. It's a good idea. We can have it to where 2 or 3 of us are on board, or maybe just everybody's on board one day. Do like a Brady Bunch deal. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe I'll do that. The only reason why I was thinking of spreading it out is because everybody gets there in one shot. But you know what? Maybe altogether in one shot would be a lot of fun too. So yeah, leave that in the comments. And maybe what we'll do is maybe next week we'll all come to an agreement next live stream to see whether or not, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Let's all get in the room and we'll, yeah, there you go. J-Reels live panel. And we'll just start talking about anything and everything what's happening. So right now, what I'll do is this. As of this moment, we'll leave it to where I know James, Nike, I don't know if you want to be on board. You can just say it. I'm in if that's the case. And anybody else that's on that wants to be a part of it, please just put I'm in. And we could certainly go from there. But as far as who wants to be a guest on a future live stream, right now I'll do it individual. But if it's a thing where everybody doesn't mind being on at once, then I'll do that. We'll have some fun. Why not? And also part of the streaming too, can I just say this? And for next month, it will be on YouTube. And I really would like to get your feedback on this. I didn't put up a graphic for it. So what are your thoughts if I went on a platform like Twitch? And I get it. It's another platform to go on. You got to sign on or whatever it may be. I've actually considered that over the last week or so to where, listen, your boy needs to I have to start getting monetized. And that's not to say I'm going to get monetized right away. I got to get at least 500 subscribers, whatever, so on and so forth. But, excuse me, the one thing is I know that maybe I could grow that platform pretty quick based on a lot of things that I've heard from other people. And yeah, I understand it's another outlet. And as much as I want to grow the YouTube channel, I definitely will still stick to that. But with Twitch, I know that could be a platform that could grow and could strive, especially what I want to do. And who knows? And I see some comments already that popped up here, so let me see. All right, good to see that bio. You're in too. Awesome. Now I know there's a time difference there. I know you got to get up extra early for that. So, but yeah, I appreciate that too. So that means that's 4. Prediction: Mets will trade Stephen Kwan, Sandy Alcantara. Wow, that's a lot. That's a bold prediction. All right, so baseball purist. Do you think 1, 2 or all 3 of that's going to happen? Quan plays left field, though. Could you put him in center? Quan, I would want on my team. That guy's a real good hitter. He's a winning player. I would definitely take him. Alcantara. Depends on what you're going to give up, though. Helsley scares me a little bit. I know he'd be a live arm, but yeah, you have to hold your breath with that guy as a closer. And not the other he's going to close games. He's going to be an 8th inning guy, but still. And I understand any arm will help, etc. But I do like that thought process. Quan, I like. Alcantara, I like. Helsley, not too much, but I like the way you're thinking. Val, I appreciate that. You're in too. So that means I got, 5 people right now. Baseball purist. Is that right? Oh, so that means without being demonetized or banned. Yeah, because if I played a YouTube clip now, or if I played a clip here, I probably would get demonetized. And in the past, I did play one clip a few weeks ago. So, but listen, I'm not on YouTube. I still got to get to 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers. Right now, I'm at 681. So, I still got work to do when it comes to that. And Lord knows, I've been on YouTube now consistently, easily for a year and a half, but even beyond that, dating back to probably early 2023. But that's that. Brent, I appreciate that. Yeah, they are. All 3. Baseball purist said, the hell with it. Now, all right, well, real quick, baseball purist. That means you want to give up Brandon Sproat. You want to give up Ronnie Mauricio. Beatty or Vientos, I could give or take. And I like Beatty and Vientos both. But I'm sure those guys, and Vientos out of the 3 looks like to be the one guy that could be out. Yeah, I'm not trading Luis Angel Acuna. I'm not doing that. But those guys are going to probably be part of the rumor mill as far as being traded for, let's say, even any one of those 3 games or any one of those 3 players that are out there. So, but Brent, yeah, listen, I'm really considering it. I know all these platforms that go live. And as it is, I tie this in with not only Facebook, but also YouTube. I mean, not YouTube, of course, YouTube. With Facebook, I was going to do Instagram, but I decided not to. But YouTube, obviously. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys and gals posted on that because then maybe I'll start doing a few live streams there. But I probably won't be, I don't know, until September or who knows. Maybe if this really takes off here on YouTube in the first half, maybe I'll still do YouTube, my streaming, but then I'll also go to the Twitch as well. But we'll see. I'm just keeping that option open. And then, so we mentioned the Valkyries, Val, and they did win yesterday. Valkyries with a little growing pains in their first season in the W, that's for sure. But, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to branch out and be the guy that's going to, I don't want to say do the most, but put myself out there to where I want to bring in more subscribers, followers, to start generating some income because, as you know, I've been doing this full-time now almost a year and a half. And thankfully, I've had enough of a savings account to last this long. But you know what? It's not going to last much longer if I continue to go down this road. It's not as if I got money saved for the next 3-4 years. That was the case. I'd be, hey, I'm on easy street. And that's not a complaint by any means to know that I've been doing it this long without having to go the part-time route or even have to go back full-time, which I don't want to do because this is what I'm born to do, meant to do the whole 9, as you know. So let's see what you got next comment. Anyway, we can help you. Yes, absolutely, James. I know you guys are there. I got my core, and as long as I got you guys, I know I got something. And you know, as always, I appreciate each and every one of you. So then what we'll do is this. So for next week, right now for Monday, even though this is tomorrow, but Monday's podcast pregame, I'm going to put the names in a hat. And I'll do it one at a time to start. So people get an idea. They'll get the face and the voice behind the name. And then we'll do a group eventually down the road. What do you guys think about that? Unless you could overrule me. You could say, oh, Jerry, let's all do it together, whatever. That's fine also. So please, and I know you guys aren't shy, so whatever it is that's on your mind, whatever it is that you're feeling, thinking, please share it. This is your live stream just as much as it is me. And I understand I'm the orchestrator. I'm the one that's driving the ship. But again, even if I was talking to nobody, I would still do this. And thankfully, I have 7, 8 people that have joined since the start of this thing. So many thanks. But that's what I'll do for starters. Unless you guys change your mind, unless whatever's going to go down here between now and this coming Monday, if you feel like you want to be a part of it, then what the hell? I'm all in. But as of right this second, I'll make it to where I got the names. I know who they are. As a matter of fact, I'll even retype them just so I don't miss anybody. So we got Bio. Nike, I'm putting you down. I know you didn't say yes. Brent. Val. I'll just put Purist. And Purist, send me your address, as you know. That's 5 there. I know haven't heard from Mirjana or Vladislav. I hope they're doing fine. I believe Mirjana was ill last week, so want to wish her a speedy recovery. So, yeah, I got Bio, Nike, Brent, Val, Purist. If I missed anybody, please holler at me now, and I'll make sure to get your name in. And then if I get overruled between now and Monday, I'll be sure. And then, of course, if that's the case, to where I know Bio, I have your email. James, I know to get in contact with you. Brent, I know to get in contact with you. Val, I can get in contact with you through, unless you want to, I can get through to you here. You've reached out to me on Twitter. So, yeah, other than Baseball Purist, well, if you hit me up with an email based on me sending your cap, then obviously we could correspond that way. So, but if that changes, I'll let you know. But right now, that Monday podcast pregame, I'll put the names in a hat and we'll have at it to see who will be my guest next Wednesday here on the J Reels live stream. All right, and I'll just about do it, people, because other than that, sports, what else is happening? What's with the baseball? All right, Toronto now 3-2. They scored 2 more runs there to get closer. News and notes. No trades. I don't know. Jonathan Kuminga, do I talk about him with the Warriors? Probably not. Isaiah Likely, small foot fracture. Is that a big deal? Depends how long he's going to be out. If he's going to be out 6 weeks, he's going to miss, the first 2 weeks of the season? That's no big whoop. But with that being said, that's going to do it for another live stream. And as you know, critique videos, first one up on the channel. I just put up another one there that was last Monday. Yeah, I put up a commentary one just the other day that had to do about the WNBA, but I have some more coming down the pike, hopefully by the end of the week. So stay tuned on that. YouTube, at JReels. I'm sure you know by now. Share with your family, friends, foes, frenemies. I sincerely appreciate it. Any other type of content that you'd like to see me produce, more live streams, which we talked about 31 days, commentary videos, less shorts, more of this, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to accommodate, make sure that I'm on top of what it is that I do here from a creative standpoint. And then any last thoughts from the chat room? Let's see, Val. Why not? They're 5 back, so they got a lot of work to do and a lot of catching up. But I think that they'll still be in the mix. I don't think they're going to go out just yet. And who knows? By the time we get to next Wednesday's live stream, it could be 8 out. And if that's going to be the case, then it's certainly not looking good for them to qualify for the postseason. So we got that. But besides that, people, that'll do it. As always, you know the drill. As you see at the bottom of the ticker, weekly live stream. Obviously, you know where to subscribe for the pod itself. As you see there on the graphic. Any last thoughts, just in case, before we bid adieu? You know the live streams every Wednesday at 12. You know about the podcast pregame there Monday, and that's Monday and Thursday right before the pod. And then the latest edition does not Yes, it does come tomorrow. I'm thinking I got my days mixed up. Latest edition tomorrow, probably around high noon. It's going to be mostly baseball. See if any trades are going to happen, which would be nice. Anything else that's going on in the world of sports, I got you covered. I see a couple other comments here. Of course, to Brent. Yes, you too. Take care. Anna's in the house. I didn't even know that. Yes, Brent, please feel free. And obviously, to share the same sentiment back. Thanks for stopping by. And thank you guys and gals, because as you do know, this is what I love to do. It's in the blood. It's in the DNA. As I like to say, talking sports since birth, right here. As you all know, I do that tapping only because it's like in the blood, in the veins, DNA, the whole nine. But anyway, I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for stopping by. And Baseball Purist, send me your address so I can send this to you. We'll have another giveaway next week. Looking forward to these live streams as I always do. And come August 1st, like I said, live stream could come at any time, but it will be archived. We'll take a look at it. And if you miss it, so yes, be in touch. And of course, James, I will. Thank you so much for that sentiment as I get ready to bid adieu. So as long as I'm sitting in front of this microphone, in front of this camera, I'll deliver nothing but passion, fire, energy, fury, with my thoughts, opinions, critiques, praise, analysis, feelings on anything and everything that happens on the world of the diamond, ice, gridiron, hardwood, golf course, racetrack, tennis court, boxing ring, octagon, you name it. From my lips to your ears, from my heart to your soul, from where I am to wherever you are, the J Reels live stream always comes live, correct, direct, and in full effect. From South Bronx to South Beach to South Central to South Pacific and all points beyond, peace, love, and God bless. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay cool no matter where you're at in this big, giant globe that we live on, but especially in the Northeast, stay cool. And until next Wednesday, and even tomorrow, podcast, pregame, and the podcast itself on the flip, baby. Have a good one.